These all right, they want to bullshit people.
Well, because
That's
they're trying.
Fine. But you got to talk about suspension of disbelief. With me, I'm like, maybe she really couldn't kill that dragon with a sword, but fuck it, I'm at the movies. With you, it's like this.
No, I look for, they can't control the sun. So if they film one part of the scene in the morning, another part in the afternoon, the shadow is pointing in a different direction.
Right.
And they want you to think it just happened 10 minutes later. Yeah. They can't control the sun.
Right.
So they fake the sun in a sound studio, and they have the right color temperature of the sun, so it feels like sunlight, and it has that sort of brightness that you get. So I let that go. There's so much you'd have to fake. I swear to you, it's easier to just go to the damn moon.
That sounds. I understand exactly what you're saying, but it sounds crazy if you think that people actually couldn't get to the moon. Then no. If they actually physically couldn't survive out in the atmosphere of deep space, couldn't survive the talk is that the solar radiation, any solar flares, any solar activity would be instant death. And this has sort of been kind of acknowledged by NASA that they rolled the dice with solar radiation.
Yeah.
So the people that are believing that it's impossible to get through the Van Allen radiation belts, for you to say to them that it would be just it is false.
It's just yes.
However,
you don't spend much time getting through them.
Right.
So radiation dose is not simply is it there, it's how much time
exposure.
Yeah, it's time exposure to it. The intensity plus time gives you total dose.
Right, but these people that believe that no humans have ever done it before, because the only people that did it were the Apollo astronauts, and there's no one's been able to do it since. And every single space station flight, every space shuttle flight, all of them are within 400 miles
easily. Yeah, I mean, space station is two something. Hubble is a little higher, about 360.
Right,
yeah.
right. But these
miles.
But these are the only times where human beings have ever been past that. Was the Apollo program. Mm-hmm. So for the conspiracy-minded, of course that comes up. Well, no, you can't survive in deep space. No one's ever done it except some people in the 60s, and no one believes that today. And the reason why you can't get out there is because of solar flares and radiation, all this jazz. So if they're right, then it would be easier to fake it. Now, you say they're not right because Van Allen says it's safe to go through the belts, and then they went through the top, the donut hole. But realistically, when people look at human beings that have actually been through, the last time someone did it was 1972. Right. That was the last time a human being has been more than 400 miles from the Earth's surface. That freaks people out. No, because every single technological achievement from 1969 is easier, cheaper, and faster to reproduce today.
It had its own trajectory. I mean, in 1969, the computer was still half the size of the room. Mm-hmm. So, and that's one thing.
Same computer that's like not even an iPhone.
Right, exactly. Or the computing power that's in a singing birthday card. So what Kubrick got wrong in 2001, in the midst of all the rest that was visionary, was the assumption that the future would be one big computer controlling the one big ship. The notion of distributed computing, where you would have the power of a mainframe sitting on your hip, was unimagined at the time. So yeah, things got systematically more powerful, but that's a natural progression of technology that's been going on since the Industrial Revolution.
Right.
That alone shouldn't surprise anybody.
No, that doesn't surprise anyone. The argument is that the manned space flight is the only thing that hasn't advanced. If you watch these movies from the 1970s, they talked about 2010. My God, there's going to be space stations on the moon, and there was Space 1999. Do you remember that show?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
God,
yeah.
I mean, but the reality is our manned space exploration ended.
I'll tell you why.
Money.
Yes, that's the clean, clear answer, but there's a more subtle answer. All right. When we went to the moon, everyone assumed, because of the way it was marketed, there was the profiles in Life magazine of each of the astronauts, and you saw their families, and the president said we should do it, and it was this grand mission from NASA, a civilian space agency, and the World's Fair in New York, 1964, was all about inventing a future. So we were living that romance. All right. What we were not reminding ourselves is that the only reason why we went to the moon is because we were at war with Russia, with the Soviet Union. That is the only reason at all. If you don't carry that motivation with you, and you're only thinking that this is simply the next technological thing to do, that when we learn that Russia's not going to the moon, therefore we have no reason to continue and we stop, you cry foul and you say, well, wait a minute, how about the future? How about Mars? And how about the rest of that? Well, the rest of that was not ever in the plan unless Mars had planned to, unless Russia had planned to do it. And so it was not a natural flow of what our technology would have done because it didn't flow out of our economic creativity. It came out of our urge to not die. And so when you have that scenario, of course we didn't go past the moon after 1972. We were no longer competing with Russia to do that.
I understand what you're saying, and